How to design tie rods inside PractiCAM. PractiCAM allows you to design any number of tie rods that you would like. The tie rod section is divided into 4 quadrants: tie rods, common parameters, joint parameters, and center parameters. Underneath tie rods we have 2 choices. A, we can design a copy of a tie rod that is already existing by clicking on a tie rod we'd like to copy and select on create a new tie rod, the icon. And that'll make a copy of, for example, CTR, JTR. If we would like to create a new one from scratch, we click on the empty space so that nothing is highlighted, and then click on the icon, create a new tie rod. This will create a brand new one from scratch. We can call this one My Tie Rod. Underneath common parameters, we have all the parameters that are the same for all tie rods in general. It doesn't make a difference whether they're a joint or center. All of these tie rods share the same common parameters. Choices are as follows. First, we have the choice to do length add. Length add means that if I decide to say length add 5 inches, the PractiCAM is going to take the rod and add 5 inches to both ends of that tie rod, so it's protruding 5 inches on either end. The second choice is hole diameter. If we would like PractiCAM to cut the holes out for us during fabrication, and we decide to click on cut holes yes, we're going to need to decide what the diameter of those holes are going to be. Currently they're set at 1 inch. If we zoom in and change the hole diameter to 3 inches, you'll see that now the holes are much larger. You can also adjust the rods. The rod has a diameter as well. Right now it's 1 inch, but if we would like it to match the tie rods, we can make it 3 inches. The next choice is interference. If we have tie rods coming in on the width, and we also have tie rods coming in on the depth, and they're going to crisscross over one another, interference is the distance at which PractiCAM is going to allow those tie rods to cross over one another. If the interference is 2 inches, that means the nearest distance to the next tie rod that crosses over one will always be 2 inches apart. We can adjust that accordingly. We have cut holes, which is just yes or no, as we just shown you. We add a cost to any tie rod we'd like. We can add a weight, and we can also add an insert cost. Here we're just going to say cost is 10 cents. The next 2 sections are joint parameters and center parameters. For the most part they are the same, but we'll go over each section one at a time. Joint parameters has 8 lines associated to it. The first 4 lines are all associated with the joint in. That would be the bottom right here. The next 4, which are offset out all the way down to quantity out, are associated with the joint out parameters. Offset in essentially means that if I were to zoom in to the fitting right here and look at the distance between this tie rod and the edge of the duct, the distance would be 2 inches. If I would like to change that offset on the y-axis to 10, I would just click in 10, hit enter, and now the distance from here to here will be 10 inches. Side offset is just the distance from this tie rod to the edge here. Right now the distance is 2 inches. If I would like to create that to be 6 inches, I put in 6 and hit enter. Next we have placement. Now placement in. We've got a choice of quantity based or space based. If you went over rods before, you would see what they are. Quantity based essentially means that if we give it a number, say quantity is 3, the PractiCAM is just going to put in 3 evenly spaced tie rods, regardless of how large this fitting is. Space based, if we select it, will allow us to do spacing in. This means we could say place a tie rod every 4 inches. You can see as I click between quantity and space, the choices here will change. For right now, what we're going to do is leave this placement in on quantity. And I'm going to change the quantity in to be just 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create so that the joint parameter on the out is identical to the top 4 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just zoom in so we can see it. I'm going to say that the offset out will be 2 inches, 2 inches, quantity, and we're going to say just 1. We'll make it up here 2 inches, 2 inches, and quantity 1. So essentially, so far, our joint parameters for my tie rod are going to just have 1 quantity here and 1 here. Now what we need to do is work on our center parameters. Center parameters work very, very similar. We have the side offset, which is going to offset these from the edge. For example, if I want to change this to 10 inches, it's now going to be 10 inches from here to here. We can also offset on the x-axis, or we can offset on the y-axis. For example, if I would like to say move this entire row 15 inches up, I can just say offset Y 15, and now you'll notice that when you zoom in, all of those have been lifted up 15 inches. If we put it back to 0, you'll see that these will recenter themselves. Let's put offset Y 0. Now we have a choice between quantity, space, and adjustable as well. For this, we're going to use quantity, and I'm going to say that the quantity is going to be just 1. And we also have line quantity. Quantity was how many from left to right, but now we want to decide how many in the center we're going to have from top to bottom. Right here we have line quantity. We're going to decide to change this to 1, so that we only have quantity 1 in the center. Now if we wanted to do a space-based tie rod, what we would do is we'd say, let's do placement, spaced, and let's say that the spacing is going to be every 8 inches. You see what PractiCAM will do is it'll give us first the offset X that we choose, and then every 8 inches it'll add another tie rod. So you can choose whatever you'd like. Between the space, quantity, the spacing, line placement, and this placement right here, you'll be able to design any type of tie rod that you would like and make sure they're associated to the proper fitting specifications. Let's say we're going to do line quantity and the placement quantity as well. Now what we're going to do is save our tie rod, and now we can apply it to any takeoff that we'd like. Here we have a simple rectangular piece of duct. If we would like to add the tie rods that we just created, whether they want to be in the width or depth, all I have to do is select tie rod width or tie rod depth, select the tie rod we just created, which is called my tie rod. Now here I can adjust all the parameters on the fly if I'd like, but all the defaults will be set as to whatever we left it inside my accessories. If I click OK, it'll apply the tie rod that we have designed, exactly spaced as we'd like. Even all the holes will be burned out because we selected that we wanted PractiCAM to manufacture them. That is how we design tie rods inside PractiCAM.